Imagine watching the ocean boil right before your eyes. That's exactly what a group of sailors experienced one calm morning in the middle of the vast Pacific Ocean. The sun had barely climbed above the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow across an endless sheet of blue. Their ship rocked gently on the swells, nothing out of the ordinary. But then, without warning, the sea itself seemed to come alive. First came a low, distant rumble, so deep it felt more like a vibration than a sound. The crew glanced at one another, unsure if they'd imagined it. Moments later, the water ahead of them began to shimmer strangely, as though heat were bending the air above it. Suddenly, the ocean erupted in a towering column of steam and ash, shooting hundreds of feet into the sky. The sailors froze, stunned by the sight. Where moments ago there had been only calm water, there was now a boiling cauldron, hissing and roaring like an angry beast. Beneath the surface, a colossal force had awakened. A newborn volcano preparing to tear through the ocean floor. For millions of years, far below that spot, Earth had been quietly at work. A tiny fracture in the planet's crust, hidden 2 miles under the waves, allowed molten rock from the mantle to ooze out little by little. Every trickle of lava cooled and hardened, stacking one thin layer on top of another. Over geological time, those layers formed an invisible mountain on the seafloor, rising ever so slowly toward the light above. But magma is patient only up to a point. Pressure deep inside the Earth builds relentlessly, storing more energy than the rocks above can contain. Eventually, that hidden mountain became too heavy, too unstable to stay silent. The crust cracked open, and the sea met the Earth's fiery heart. What followed was nothing short of spectacular. Superheated water exploded upward with a thunderous roar, dragging chunks of glowing lava and black volcanic ash with it. The surface boiled violently, waves surging away from the blast site. Steam billowed so thick it blotted out the morning sun, casting eerie shadows over the ship's deck. For the crew, it was as if they were witnessing the birth of a world. One sailor described it as watching the Earth breathe fire. Another could only stare, speechless, clutching the ship's rail as the horizon turned a ghostly gray. This was the planet's creative power at its most raw, an unstoppable engine fueled by heat from the Earth's core. Long before humans ever existed, volcanoes like this one had been shaping continents, forging mountains, and laying the groundwork for life itself. Even now, in an age of satellites and smartphones, the Earth reminded anyone watching that it was still alive, still restless, still capable of breathtaking drama. And so, in that remote corner of the Pacific, the birth cry of a new island echoed across the waves. A signal that somewhere beneath the roiling sea, a fresh chapter in Earth's story had just begun. When magma meets the ocean, it's a showdown of extremes, a clash between fire from Earth's core and the chill of the open sea. Imagine molten rock, glowing orange at nearly 1,200 degrees Celsius (2,200 degrees Fahrenheit), surging upward through cracks in the seafloor. The instant it hits icy saltwater, the reaction is explosive. Steam jets burst skyward, loud as cannon fire, while chunks of half-cooled lava shatter into showers of black sand and jagged stone. From the deck of a ship or the safety of a research drone, the scene looks like nature waging war with itself. Billowing clouds of white and gray rise high, blotting out the blue sky. The horizon takes on a smoky haze, as though a storm were brewing from nothing. Beneath that curtain of vapor, something extraordinary is happening, the ocean is giving way to land. Hour by hour, the undersea volcano pours out fresh lava, feeding the battle. At first, the molten rock barely survives contact with the waves, cooling into brittle shards that sink back into the depths. But persistence is one of Earth's greatest weapons. With each eruption, more material piles up, slowly forming a mound on the seafloor. As the day wears on, that hidden mound begins to rise above the waterline. Through the mist, a dark shape appears, small but defiant. Waves crash against its sides, sending spray into the air, yet the island to be refuses to disappear. It's a fragile newborn, still steaming from the heat locked inside, but every surge of magma strengthens its foundation, welding new layers of rock to its core. The sounds are mesmerizing, a hiss as water touches hot stone, a boom as gases trapped in lava explode outward, the low growl of the sea as it wrestles with fire. Even the smell is unforgettable, a sharp mix of sulfur, scorched minerals, and salty mist. Above, life watches curiously. Seabirds circle in hesitant loops, unsettled by the sudden appearance of smoke and land where hours earlier there had been only rolling waves. Some swoop lower, testing the air, their calls echoing over the thunderous blasts. For them, this is uncharted territory, a place both threatening and full of possibility. Scientists who study these rare events describe them as windows into the planet's past. Billions of years ago, Earth's early surface would have looked much like this, molten rock meeting oceans, building the first crusts that would one day carry forests, deserts, and cities. To see it happen now is like peeking through a time machine at the forces that built the very ground beneath our feet. By nightfall, the mound has grown into a rough cone, still steaming, its edges glowing faintly in the fading light. It may not look like much, just a smudge of rock in a restless sea, but it marks the exact moment when a lifeless patch of ocean began to turn into solid earth. Creation, in its purest form, is unfolding right there, and those who witness it know they are seeing the world write a brand new chapter. Over the course of days and then weeks, the newborn volcano refused to rest. Every few hours, a deep rumble rolled up from beneath the sea, followed by a fountain of incandescent lava. Slowly, a rugged cone began to take shape above the surface. What had started as an invisible mountain on the seafloor was now a jagged island, its slopes glowing faintly through the mist. From its summit, fiery rivers of molten rock spilled downward, tracing glowing paths to the shoreline. Each flow met the ocean with a furious hiss, sending up curtains of steam so thick they blurred the horizon. The clash between lava and water hardened the rock in layers, piece by piece, forging a protective skin that would one day help the island stand firm against the waves. As word spread, scientists from around the world raced to the scene. Research ships and helicopters hovered nearby, careful to keep a safe distance from the roiling vents. With cameras, drones, and instruments, they documented every phase of this rare spectacle. For volcanologists, this was like being present at the birth of a planet, a chance to watch geology unfold in real time. The team gave the island a name, Nova Terra, Latin for new land. It was simple, but fitting, a reminder that this was Earth, renewing itself right before their eyes. From orbit, satellites captured its progress, sending back dramatic images of a dark smudge spreading across a deep blue canvas. Each pass showed more detail, ridges forming, cliffs rising, the first hints of beaches taking shape along the waterline. Yet even as excitement grew, experts knew Nova Terra's story was far from secure. History is full of volcanic islets that flared into existence, only to vanish within months. The same forces that built this young land could also undo it. Waves, relentless and patient, pounded at its base day and night. Rain mixed with sulfur ash to carve gullies in its slopes. Without a strong foundation, the ocean might reclaim everything. To endure, the island needed time for lava flows to cool and solidify into dense basalt, for successive eruptions to stack thick layers of stone, for its roots to anchor far beneath the waves. Only then could Nova Terra stand against the constant assault of wind and surf. Despite the uncertainty, the sight of the island inspired awe. It was a rare reminder that Earth is still alive, still creating new frontiers in the most unexpected places. Watching Nova Terra grow felt like witnessing a secret normally reserved for the planet itself, a slow, patient artistry that had sculpted continents, raised mountains, and shaped coastlines for billions of years. As the sun set on another day of eruptions, the island glowed faintly in the twilight, steam drifting from its cooling ridges. It was fragile, yes, but it was also proof of Earth's stubborn creativity. Against the vastness of the Pacific, Nova Terra stood as a bold statement: even in our modern world, new worlds are still being born. Months passed, and the angry roars of the volcano softened into occasional puffs of steam. The ground, once so hot it shimmered in the air, began to cool enough for a new chapter to begin. With calm came change, a quiet transformation that almost felt magical after the violence that had created the island. Rain clouds gathered over the fresh black slopes, releasing steady showers that trickled through ash and cooled lava. The water dissolved tiny minerals from the rock, carrying them into crevices and hollows slowly. They formed thin films of soil, the very first hint of nourishment on a land that, not long ago, was only fire and stone. Soon, the island received its first visitors. Seabirds, tired from long flights over open water, circled the coastline cautiously before landing on the still warm rocks. They were explorers without even knowing it, pioneers searching for rest on a land no map yet named. As they preened their feathers or called out to one another, they unknowingly carried the beginnings of life with them. Seeds clung to their legs, their wings, or hid inside their stomachs, waiting for the perfect spot to grow. As weeks turned into months, tiny bursts of green appeared. At first, it was just a few hardy sprouts, brave enough to root in the thin, gritty soil between lava stones. But where one plant survived, others soon followed. Mosses spread like soft carpets across the black rock. Small shoots of grass and ferns poked up, bending gently in the wind. They were fragile but determined, clinging to every patch of ground they could find. Other creatures arrived, drawn by instinct to explore this untouched place. Crabs scuttled ashore, their claws tapping on the cooling basalt. They sifted through the wet sand at the island's edge, searching for scraps carried in by the tide. Insects, blown in by ocean breezes, landed and stayed, claiming this barren landscape as their own. Even spiders spun the first gossamer webs between jagged rocks, patiently waiting for prey. Step by step, species by species, the island's empty silence began to fill with the quiet hum of life. What had been a chaotic furnace of molten rock now offered food, shelter, and a chance to thrive. For scientists observing from boats and research camps, it was like peering backward in time, a living model of how Earth's earliest continents might have been seeded with life. They took careful notes as birds built nests, as plants spread deeper inland, and as the soil grew richer with every passing season. Watching life take hold on Nova Terra gave them a glimpse of how all ecosystems, even the one we call home, might have started, with a single patch of stubborn green. By the end of that first year, the island looked less like a wound on the ocean and more like a promise. It was no longer just a smoking pile of rock, it had become a living, breathing experiment written by nature itself, proof that, wherever there is space and time, life will find a way. Today, Nova Terra stands as a powerful reminder that our planet is still alive, restless, and endlessly creative. From a distance, it may look like nothing more than a jagged outcrop in the middle of the sea, a rough sketch of land against a vast blue canvas. But step closer, and its story comes alive. Thin wisps of steam rise from cracks in its slopes, whispering of the heat still moving deep beneath the surface. Along its rocky beaches, you can see the earliest signs of an ecosystem, patches of moss, the tracks of seabirds, tiny green shoots clinging stubbornly to black stone. Yet for all its promise, Nova Terra's future hangs in the balance. Volcanic islands are born in fire, but their survival depends on time, strength, and a bit of luck. Another eruption could swell its shoreline, adding new layers of lava and ash to make it stronger. Or that same burst of energy could shatter its fragile rim, plunging parts of it back into the sea. Even without eruptions, the ocean itself is a relentless sculptor, grinding at the island's edges day and night. That's what makes volcanic islands so thrilling, and so humbling. They are snapshots of creation, captured mid-stroke, always shifting between birth and destruction. One season they grow, another they crumble. Some endure for millennia, becoming lush homes for forests, animals, and even human communities. Others disappear within a few years, leaving only a shallow reef or a memory recorded in satellite images. Somewhere else on our planet, right now, another patch of seafloor is rumbling in secret, preparing to repeat Nova Terra's journey. Perhaps it's off the coast of Iceland, where fiery vents hide beneath frigid waters. Or maybe it's in the Pacific's Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates grind and collide, feeding a chain of submarine volcanoes. Even in the cold Southern Ocean near Antarctica, researchers have found mountains of hardened lava, waiting quietly for their moment to rise. These islands teach us something profound about Earth: it is never finished. Continents shift, coastlines redraw themselves, and mountains rise or vanish, all on timescales far longer than a human lifetime, yet still happening right beneath our feet. Nova Terra is a reminder that we're standing on a living, breathing planet, one that constantly renews itself in ways we rarely get to see. So the next time you stand at the edge of the sea and look out across an endless horizon, remember this: beneath those waves, new worlds are waiting to be born. Somewhere down there, molten rock is gathering strength, water is waiting to meet fire, and the first chapter of another island's story is about to begin. And who knows? Maybe, if you're in the right place at the right time, you'll witness it. The breathtaking moment when Earth writes a fresh page in its story, etched in fire, steam, and stone.